Hello, tara, math tayo. So our topic for today is about special products. So we have the first one, which is involving squares. So we have the square of a binomial. So that's x plus y raised to 2. So how do we solve that? We get the square of the first term. So that's x times x is x squared. And then multiply x times y and times 2. So we'll have 2xy. And then the square of the last term, so that's y times y, which is y squared. And then the next one is x minus y raised to 2. So get the square of the first term, so x squared. And then multiply x times y times 2. So we'll have negative 2xy because of the minus sign. And then get the square of the last term, so we'll have positive y squared. And then the next one is the square of a trinomial. So x plus y times z raised to 2. Okay, so how do we solve that? Get the square of x, x squared, the square of y, y squared, and the square of z, so z squared. And then, next, you need to multiply by pair. So x times y, then times 2, that's 2xy. Then y times z times 2, that's 2yz. And then the last pair, so x times z times 2 will have 2xz. Okay? Next is the cube of a binomial. So we have x plus y raised to 3. Okay, so the first step is to get the cube of x. So that's x cubed. Next, we need to get the square of the first term. So that's x times x, x squared, times y, x squared y, times 3, we have 3x squared y. Next, get the square of the last term. So that's y squared, y times y, times x, and then times 3, we will have 3xy squared. And then the last one is to get the cube of y, which is y cubed. And then the other one is x minus y raised to 3. So same step. There's only a difference with the sign. So the first one is get the cube of x, which is x cubed. Next, get the square of x. So that's x squared times negative y, and then times 3. So you'll have negative 3x squared y. And then get the square of negative y. So that's positive y squared times x, and then times 3. So you'll have positive 3xy squared. And then get the cube of negative y. So you will have negative y cube. Okay, so you need to please take note and be careful with the signs. Okay, so the next one is the product of sum and difference. So we have x plus y times x minus y. So as you can see, the only difference here is the sign. So one positive and one negative. Okay, so all you have to do is just to multiply x times x, that's x squared. Then y times negative y, that's negative y squared. Okay, as easy as that. And then the last one is the product of a binomial and special multinomial. So we have x plus y times x squared minus xy plus y squared. So let's look at the trinomial. So x squared came from the square of x. And then the y squared came from the square of y. And then the middle term is the product of x and y. So that's xy with the opposite sign. Okay. So all you have to do is just to multiply x times x squared. So you'll have x cubed. And then y times y squared. That's y cubed. Okay. And then the next one is x minus y times x squared plus xy plus y squared. Okay, so as you can see, it's almost the same as the first one. The only difference is the sign. So all you have to do is just to multiply x times x squared, and then negative y times y squared is equal to negative y cubed. Okay, so that's the special products. Okay, so now we're going to apply these formulas by answering these following questions. So find the product of the following. So the first one is 3x plus 2y raised to 2. So that's square of a binomial. Okay, as you can see, the exponent is 2 and we have a binomial. So the first step is to get the square of 3x. So we have 9x squared. And then next, 3x times 2y. So that's 6xy. And then times 2, we have 12xy. And then the last one is get the square of 2y. So that's 2y times 2y, which is 4y squared. Okay, next. So the square of a binomial again. So 5x minus 6y squared. So the first step is to get the square of 5x. So 5x times 5x is 25x squared. Next, so 5x times negative 6y is equal to negative 30xy. Times 2, we have negative 60xy. And then, negative 6y times negative 6y is positive 36y squared. Okay, next, number 3 is the square of a trinomial. So applying the formula, get the square of 2x. So we have 4x squared. And then the square of the second one. So that's 9y squared. And the square of the third term, which is 16z squared. Next is to multiply it by pair. So 2x times 3y is 6xy. And then times 2, so you will have positive 12xy. Next, another pair. So 3y times 4z is 12yz. Times 2, you have positive 24yz. And then the last pair. So we have 2x times 4z. So that's 8xz. Times 2, you will have positive 16xz. Okay. Next, number 4. Square of a trinomial again. So get the square of the first term. So 5x times 5x is 25x squared. Next, the square of the second term. So negative 2y times negative 2y is positive 4y squared. And then the square of 3z, that's positive 9z squared. And then multiply it by pair. So 5 times negative 2 times 2, you will have negative 20xz, or xy rather. And the next is negative 2y times positive 3z, and then times 2, so you're going to have negative 12yz. And then the last pair is 5x times 3c, and then times 2, so you will have positive 30xz. Okay, then next, number 5. So that's the cube of a binomial. Okay, so take note of this. So the first one is to get the cube of 2x. So 2x times 2x times 2x. So you will have positive 8x cubed. Next, get the square of the first term. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared times 3y is 12x squared y. And then times 3, so you will have 36x squared y. Next, so get the square of the second term. So you will have 9y squared. And then times 2x, so you will have 18xy squared. Times 3, so you will have positive 54xy squared. And then to get the last term, so 3y times 3y times 3y. So you will have 27y cubed. Okay, next. So you have 3x minus 2y raised to 3. So multiply 3x 3 times. So you will have 27x cubed. Next is to get the square of 3x. So that's 9x squared times negative 4y. So you will have negative 36 and then times 3. So you will have negative 108 x squared y. Next, get the square of the second term. So that's 16y squared. Then times 3x. That's 48 xy squared times 3. So the answer is positive 144 xy squared. Okay, and then to get the last term is that you have to multiply negative 4y 3 times by itself. Okay, so you'll have negative 64y cubed. Next, number 7. So as you can see, they have the same numerical coefficient and variables. The only difference is the sign. So all you have to do is just to multiply 12x times 12x. So that's 144x squared. And then 13y times negative 13y. So that's negative 169y squared. Next, number 8. Same process. So that's 9x times 9x. So you have 81y squared. And then negative 15y times 15y is negative 225y squared. Okay, so correction by the way. So it should be 81y x squared rather, okay? Instead of y squared. Number 9, so we have 10x plus 8y times 100x squared minus 80xy plus 64y squared. So as you can see, it is an example of product of a binomial and a special multinomial. Okay, so all we have to do is multiply 10x times 100x squared. So we will have 1000x cubed and then 8y times 64y squared. That will be equal to what? Positive 512y cubed. Okay. And then the last one, same formula. So 7x minus 20y times 49x squared plus 140xy plus 400y squared. Okay, so just multiply 7x times 49x squared. So that's 343x cubed. And then negative 20y times positive 400y squared, which is equal to negative 8000y cubed. Okay, so that's the examples for this special products formula. I hope you learned something, and if you have any question, you can leave it on the comment box below. You may also write your topic suggestions on the comment box below for my next video. Please do subscribe on my channel. Thank you.